Ian Allen spending plenty time on his show these days trying to defend the political leader of the United National Congress, the opposition leader, Kamla Persad-Bissessar. He talking about some coup. Apparently, according to him, there's some MPs, going around the place getting signatures to remove her. Well, whether that story true or not, left to be seen. What I can tell you is the political leader is a bit paranoid these days. So even if you just say, boss, that story ain't making sense, or that Facebook post, I think you shouldn't put it up. She tends to get a little bit antsy. So whether or not it's true, we'll see. But I want to address something that Ian Allen said on his show, because he's trying to dirty the water for whoever these MPs are. And talking about, before they focus on Keith Rowley, or they talking about Kamla and she in opposition and this and that, and if they, and he talking about how greedy they are for power and whatnot. And, what benefits would it be to the country if they removed the opposition leader? So that is the particular point I want to address. Keith Rowley will remain in power once Kamla Persad-Bissessar is the opposition leader. And if we understand that, then you will understand why people like me think it's time for her to go. Because we can't sell her anymore. And of course, I would say that I can't sell her to myself anymore after certain things that, would have happened. And I just can't even buy into her own integrity anymore. But 700,000 citizens in Trinidad and Tobago in the last local government election would have clearly sent a message that we don't want Keith, but we don't want Kamla anymore. And we need to respond to our electorate. We need to respect what they are saying. And they are saying that they want someone fresh, someone new, someone who does not have allegations of corruption hanging over them, someone who has the energy to work with their candidates during a local government election. That's what they want. They have said clearly they do not want Keith and they do not want Kamla. So how does it benefit the citizens if we were to successfully remove Kamla Persad-Bissessar? It's simple. The UNC will now have an actual chance at defeating the PNM. Once we defeat the PNM, then we can get to work at bringing hope to the country. Then we can get to work at, improving the country, improving the lives of citizens. And that's the bottom line. It really is simple math. With Kamla at the helm of UNC, we cannot remove PNM. And until we remove PNM, Trinidad and Tobago can't see the light of day. Simple math. We remove Kamla, we remove Keith. We remove Kamla and Keith, Trinidad could finally see the light of day. So yes, Ian, we are doing this out of love of country. That's why we're calling for her to go. Not because we're greedy for power. It have nothing to do with that. It's simple math. If we want to see good governance in Trinidad and Tobago again, then we have to present the electorate with a viable option. As at right now, 700,000 citizens do not believe that the UNC is a viable alternative. And for them, they believe that if Kamla Persad-Bissessar were to go and we replace her with a proper political leader, then the UNC becomes a viable option. And it's that simple. Then 2025, we could begin to work on improving Trinidad and Tobago. Remove Kamla, Keith gets voted out, UNC gets voted in, Trinidad and Tobago can be saved. Simple math. Get on board, Ian. Your political leader always has to be seen as a future prime minister.
Right, so we're going to start the show here. We have some guests here, they're eager to come on the thing. I was to stop them about 3 or 4 times, you understand? But this way it is. We are Marsha Walker Sit and we are Sheldon Khan. But we have been doing a lot of work throughout Point 14 and environs. So we bring Marsha on the set here to talk about this whole, to decipher this whole bacchanal situation that would have been taking place within the UNC. Now,
I don't like it with bacchanal, but continue.
Now the thing about it is that I know for sure, the public doesn't hear the full scope of everything. And we just feel, or just hear little sneak peeks of things that are taking place within the party, and we just jump on the bandwagon because one part of the party may have the resources to push certain ideology further than certain people. Whereas Miss Walker will go she TikTok platform that blow up all of a sudden. You understand? The UNC have Facebook.
I wouldn't say it's all of a sudden. People would have resonated with the things that Miss Walker would have been saying and the ways in which she would have been saying it.
Can we call me Marsha? Is that possible?
So no problem.
Our people, right? Which is both yellow, red, black, green, and orange in between. Marsha would have said things. Marsha would have said things that would have resonated with the persons, with persons in general, with persons on the street, in a particular way that they believe that a politician should be representing them. They would have felt it, they would have seen it, and because of that, that is what have led to the coming together, the pulling together of that group, of that following. You know, it has to be so. It's not a, as when I say, we're coming down in the car just now, and I say this politics thing. It's not a one night stand. You don't get up and do a video about a hole in the road, and then you expect everybody to. It has to be a constant thing. I had just a meeting, a dialogue with a friend of mine over the weekend, and he said it has to come from somewhere. That drive has to come. It has to be a part of you.
Yes, it has to be something that you truly. Now, this is what it should be, versus, well, what money I could make, what contract I could get. How can I benefit my family? How can I take care of the next generation? Unfortunately, that's what people feel politics, or that's what it has. We've allowed it. Citizens have allowed it, right? Versus, I mean, politics is supposed to be that highest form of ethics. It's supposed to be a vocation. It's supposed to be filled with persons who genuinely want change, who genuinely cry when they see oppression. You know, they are bothered. That is what politics should be filled with. You know, and then you marry it with persons. You know, the best politician, I think, is somebody who has the ideals. You know, they know what they want for society, but then they're grounded enough.
And they're willing to listen.
They're willing to listen. They're grounded enough. There has to be an intelligence level. You know, so it does take a lot, I think. But I mean, you're really only looking for 41 out of 1.4. So
that's where the drive comes on. People say, how come you didn't get tired? I say, well, because everything ain't fixed yet.
Exactly. You are tired. I think. I mean, you are. It's draining. It's exhausting, especially when you feel when you go into, and I mean, I live in Digger Martin. I grew up in what would be considered a depressed community, and I still walk places. I remember my first time walking, and I had to turn my head into my husband so that people don't really, see details because they could consider it weak. But I broke down because
What did you see? What did you see?
Just the way the street, the depression, the way that they lived, it conditions.
But politics supposed to change all of that, not so.
But it's supposed to, and that's so for me. I have such a real deep problem. This is not like, for me, it's not PR. It's not. That's why people say you could just talk, you could just do an interview, because it's not something I'm practicing.
Right.
Because I think that's what the masses want to hear. I genuinely have a real issue with the fact that we've seen oil booms. We are not a poor country. We are not a poor country. And the kind of poverty, illiteracy, there's so much that you see and you go, this cannot be right. It cannot be right. And I believe that there's simply not been a will. There has been benefit to keeping people that way. And so the powers that be have kept them that way, versus...
So they can use them.
Listen, the worst thing to do is empower society. So, well, when I say the worst thing for people who want power...
Make them smart like yourself.
Yeah, to bring them up to your level. That's the worst thing You know,
Because then they start talking out like you.
I think that's an insecure leader. Because I'm gonna tell you something.
It is an insecure leader.
But you know, I've done sports most of my life. My daughter's now into sports. And anytime a champion has to bring down somebody to win, you're not really a winner. Right? To be a winner, to really know you are a winner, you have to go against the best, at their peak, and beat them.
Yes.
That's how you know you are a winner. I remember doing an interview in 2020, and you know, they asked about Rowley and stuff. And I said, I know that I'm the best version. Even Rowley at his best. And we need to stop with like, well, this guy isn't good, so that's why you vote for me. Well, that kind of puts you, it doesn't say much about you. The only reason we should vote for you is because that person isn't good. You should vote for me because even if you bring the best, I'm better than that person. That's what we deserve.
I ain't gonna lie, that's someone up in a real good way because you know it at that time, right?
That's what we deserve.
You know it at that time.
Best, not
when we was inside, when I used to work with the UNC team, is that their campaign strategy at that point in time was, all right, the PNM doing worse, or you should vote for us. And no, I don't find it should be like that.
The last 60 years, to be honest, though, it has been vote out.
Yeah.
That is what Trinidadians do. We vote out. And again, so there has to be, apart from politics, that's why I want politicians and the narrative in politics to change, right? We have to empower persons. So when I walk, you know, persons will say what you have to say until you win. I say, what? I do think this generation though is smarter.
Because of social media.
We're in the information technology, you know. I can't say why, you know, but I mean, back then, whenever, we used to think we fall out from a tree. You could
or a bird.
You could sell that story to any young person now.
Before you go any further,
so whatever it is, people are more educated now,
let me give you a story.
Informed.
Before you go any further, let me give you a story. About a month ago, we had this group for important, and a lady came to the group. She's a security, her husband's a security. She leaves home 4 o'clock in the afternoon. She reaches home 7 o'clock in the morning. She never gets to see her son.
Yeah.
And then she got a letter. She got a call stating that they're going to remove him from the school transport service.
Oh my.
Because he was not in Form 1 anymore. She called us and tried to see what we could do. So we went down to the school. On reaching there, we reached there about 9:30, 10. But there were droves of children now coming to school. So this school is in the farthest corner of the island, Cedros.
Right.
But you have children as far as where Rosila.
Wow.
Attending this school. They only you have 400 students. The majority of the students that go to the school, not from the area. So you have a student population of 400 children. They only have transport for 100 children. So on a daily basis, you have the majority of the children can't reach on time. They reach 10, 12 o'clock. They reach home 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock.
How do you expect? So these are the kinds of things when people say we like education for all, like we have free education in Trinidad. It's not. We do not play on an even playing field. We don't.
No.
Anyway, you know, I mean, and this is again like you wonder. Politicians should know these stories, right?
But they do.
But they don't care.
Because we
have to care. I'm not going to put this on politicians.
Yes.
Because we vote for them, we raise them, we create the monsters. That's the bottom line. And that's why there is hope, I think, and as I said, I think the younger citizen, and this is where now I want to challenge them. So you're not seeing that kind of blind voting anymore. I mean, I just spoke to somebody whose father is a blind supporter. You have to vote for UNC. How you go vote for COP? He said, vote for COP. Young professional. And you found that you're finding that the younger people, they're not voting. They're not prepared to just vote, right? So that's a good step. It's a good step that they're thinking past, I'm not prepared to just vote because my mother said vote, because my father said vote. They're not prepared to, so they'll stay home. But, I call them the mighty 700,000, right? Those are the ones that are not voting.
Yeah.
And I've done videos about it, I've written columns about it. media releases, put it out a letter to the editors and stuff. It's not sustainable to not vote. So it's a good step. It's a good step to say, listen, we reject the options that are before us, but we now have to move forward. So how do we move forward? Activism, get involved. I remember in 2015 I did not vote. I did not think that either of my options were viable.
Yeah, but if you
So I became the option.
Yeah, but if you don't vote,
Okay.
they come and steal your power with secret voters.
But I do not think the average Trinidadian anymore is interested in CPAP. So I was going to tell you that story where, walking, so young girls would say, Miss, when you win, I want a CPAP, a CPAP walk, or they want a corporation walk, or a HCC house. You will never hear from my mouth a promise of HCC, CPAP, corporation walk, or any version of a handout. Right? I think that for me, by the way, is why I cannot support PNL.
All right.
They have created a system in Trinidad and Tobago where we are dependent on government. And anytime you are dependent on somebody, it means the shackles are still there. It means I have to keep coming back to you to beg you for something, to fill out an application. And so I say to anybody that I'm working with, anybody that's around me, and we can go back to my history all the way. That's because this is who I am, right? Politics is just another level because I wanted to help on a bigger level.
So it's an expression, politics is an expression of who he is personally.
Yeah, this is who I've always been. I can tell you that, when I became, I was a fleet manager, and it was a smaller company. We moved into the parent company, and the person who was my secretary, she was a receptionist. She didn't really use the computer and all that, but I found her attitude. I could teach somebody to use Word. I could teach somebody to send a fax. We can't teach somebody that personality, that fire, that will to want to move forward. And when I left, when I chose to move on and stuff, she then took over my department. And I can show that trail throughout my life. I must leave you better than I found you.
Okay.
My children are told you go on a play date, you leave the person's home better than you found it, cleaner than you found it. We must always leave our space, the space that we've occupied, better than we found it. So I say to any young person, and I still go, I walk, this again, I like interacting, I like mentoring. So the young girls, you don't need a corporation walk. I see all they're doing here.
Yeah, right.
Stop doing it for free, stop doing it as a hobby and make some money on it. There's no reason, right? I've spoken of before politics, I was an activist for parenting. To me, the worst thing we could do is to give somebody a job. To give a single mother a job is not necessarily the best thing you could do. Because the parent's not around. The mother had to leave home to go and work. The child coming home to nobody. What we need to do is focus on micro business, mom-pop shops. Can we help that mother earn an income from home?
Okay.
Because if she can earn an income from home,
So
then
make a stronger family unit.
then there's a stronger family unit. I have seen the results of single mothers. When people tell me poor people don't work hard, I get so mad. I have seen my aunts and them wake up 4 o'clock in the morning to cook before they leave home. The story that you have just told.
And they reach home.
Yeah, the
Yes, and I
story
cook.
you have just told has nothing to do with poor work ethic. Nothing to do. So don't tell me poor people poor because they don't know how to work hard. Like, you have not lived a poor life.
Yeah.
So what are your plans for the changing of the UNC?
Okay, so let's go. Well, first of all, I mean, that's a real big.
I see you switch gears a little bit. No, I see you switch gears. Wait. No.
I am a change maker. There's a difference.
Right.
We push back. I mean, anything.
No, people. That's why.
I
People
don't
listen.
like you to call me a troublemaker.
Before you tell me what is your story, right? I want to say, I've been watching you for a while, right? As I told you before the interview. And I would have seen somebody, probably was subservient. I didn't get a chance to observe you up close. But
You should never judge the book by its cover.
And the latest revelation that I saw, I see an individual that is very strong,
Very passionate.
as a woman. And I believe the reason why from my judgment, I believe the reason why you're getting this kind of internal pressure from the UNC is based on your individualism. The idea is that you're bringing it as an individual to a certain point, and there are people have problems with
I've never been a good yes
being
person.
yeah.
And I played sport at a team level. And people do not understand that there's a difference. There's a difference between being loyal and being a team player. And then you've gone too far where you don't have a brain for yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I could sit and we could work it out, and I could say, okay, I don't agree with you, but we'll keep that message. That's very different to going against your morals, going against the law, going against different things, right? If you have a certain, so okay, let's use 2020 for example. Sorry guys, they put me on a chair where if y'all see my feet swinging, I sit up on my feet and my feet better now. Yeah. So in 2020, I mean, I was never UNC, like blind UNC, right? But I do think in terms of their principles, I believe UNC is a better party. And so far the best, I'm sorry. But so far the best in terms of proper policy, a proper vision for the country. I do see, I think if UNC, for example, let me go back, if UNC were the first party, I think Trinidad would have been better.
Okay.
Right? Because the vision is a sound vision. So if I were to work on something, and nothing is perfect, no organization is perfect, but I think that if I were to have a starting point, UNC has the best starting point. Because, you know, the vision and everything. I mean, PNM changed their constitution to look like UNC, you know. UNC comes 30 years after PNM, and PNM changed their constitution to look like UNC. So UNC is always...
So why that can be something that is coincidental or random? Come on.
All of a sudden, so, hey, let me make the constitution look more like UNC, oh please. UNC has the best strategy. Also, UNC was born out of fight.
Okay.
You know, anything that's born out of fight, I think, born in a good way. You know what I mean?
But you're born out of a fight.
Yeah, that's what I say. You have to, that struggle for better, you know, that trade union movement. So the persons that would have formed UNC, you know, and even, I mean, you look at a lot of the members of UNC, and I always say, that's why I said I don't like the word when they say bacchanal. UNC has a culture that because we are accustomed to this blind PNM following, I feel everybody's had to kill somebody or something to make sure they just stay quiet and turn an eye to a blind eye, you know, they just can't answer back, they can't talk back. How could that possibly be a democracy? So I actually think that what you have in UNC is a healthier democracy. We're not accustomed to it, and so that's why people try to paint it as bacchanal. But what you have are strong persons. We tend to attract the stronger politician. We tend to attract the politician that isn't prepared to just be a blind follower. If we were blind followers, we would have joined PNM. As simple as that. But the type of individual that the UNC attracts will naturally bring what we like to call infighting, because it's not our personality. We do not attract persons who are yes men. Right?
So we're saying then the people and them who in PNM are blind followers.
Oh, they absolutely are. I tell you, I think they have to do some kind of gang ritual or something to make sure that all of them have some cocoa in the sun or something, because I mean all party have a base, right? I'm not speaking about the base, huh?
All party have a base, right? And all party tend to have to be fair to it, all party tend to have a percentage of blind followers.
Right, yeah.
You understand? And
no, but I'm not speaking about I wasn't speaking about the followers. I was speaking about those who just refuse to speak out.
That should. I can say the whole.
At a national level, they refuse to speak out.
Well,
that is so true.
What's the impression of Fitzgerald Hines?
Oh my. why are we even wasting our time speaking about him? Why would you ruin such a beautiful day?
No.
I come south looking onto a nice beach. I see a pool on the side here, and this place is gorgeous, by the way. And you want to talk about Hines. But, you know, so... Anyways.
Because I can't understand how people could...
Because we allow it. Because after you pelt water on him, after you know he's a waste of time, you've still voted for him.
Yeah.
So that's why I said I don't really blame
That's why I was trying to connect
That's
it.
why I said don't blame politicians.
That's why I was trying to connect your point with blind following with that.
But you know, it's not just blind following, because then again, if we look at the numbers, right? So I'm gonna go to Diego Martin, because I know Diego Martin's numbers better than I know Laventel's numbers. Keith Rowley won with 14,000 votes on like his best year.
Right.
Out of 29,000 votes. So it's not that you have a lot of people voting for him. The number of persons that didn't vote is actually more than the persons who vote for him.
Okay.
Right? So there are things like that that people don't understand. When I say that, a lot of persons go serious, because you'd find people say, well, I live in a PNM safe hole, so it doesn't make sense if I vote or I don't vote, because the base will come out to vote. Look at the local government elections. More people, and now talking nationally, more people did not vote than those who voted. So again, it's not a base issue. So when I campaign and people say, how do you think you could beat PNM? I say, because I have to bring in non-voters out. I am never speaking to a PNM base. I am never speaking to a PNM base. I am not going to try to convert them. It makes no difference. If you come and vote for Rowley, keep voting for Rowley. Who I am speaking to is that individual who wants information, who's past the yellow and red and orange and green and blue, and they just want proper governance. They don't care who it is. They don't care what color you represent. They want proper governance. That's what I'm speaking to. And that's why I do call them the mighty 700,000. Because if those persons wake up and start to reject, and they have, because they're not voting, so they've already shown us that they reject this current version of politics. They don't want to hear the bacchanal in Parliament. They don't want to hear, I mean, and I think I speak with real sass. You know, so nobody's saying you have to be a pushover to avoid bacchanal or whatever, you know, but keep your bacchanal on topics.
Okay.
Let me fight
on topics.
Topic. So I think people see a real boxing match when they see me, but it's on topic.
But
me ain't talking about your wife and your husband and your bald head and all kind of
shit. Yeah, it didn't make no.
That is not empowering the country. People want fight, and I've seen that. They want a fighter, but they don't want a fighter who come in to talk about your bald head.
Yeah.
They want a fighter who come in to fight for change, real change. Somebody, so for example, you know, the fellas in La Puerta, they will always say that they have a lot of respect for me. Why? Because 10 o'clock in the night I will walk up La Puerta, and me not no security, me not no nothing. I'm walking up in La Puerta, I'm walking all the way up. Right? When a young boy died from La Puerta, I'm not calling him a cockroach, I'm not calling him a pest, because you have not taken the time to understand what it is to grow up in La Puerta.
Yeah. What would have led him to those circumstances?
Exactly. And people like to say, oh, I grew up poor, and I never. I said, listen, you have never. I remember my little brother. So my father lived in Laventel at a little point in his life. My little brother got bullied. You know, police is harass you just because you're in the wrong street. I remember when I was a general manager, I earning a good income, and I ashamed to put Big Yard as my checkbook, because there's a stigma.
Yeah.
There's a stigma. So I could look a certain way because I look different. I went to convent, so I sound different. But from the time now they realize, wait, you're living in Big Yard, there's a level you can't reach, you know. That's the bottom line.
So,
and we have to face those realities. I tell people we don't have a race problem in Trinidad, right? Because, I mean, my family Indian and Big Yard. I do not think that we necessarily have a race problem. I think we have like geographic discrimination. So you know, you're from the Pitam, you're from Laventel,
you can't reach us.
Kind of watch you a little bit different. I'm trying to get a tent right now for an outreach I'm doing in Laventel for Christmas, right? Nobody wants to deliver the tent into Laventel, right? I found a guy.
I never know you live in Big Yard in
I
Laventel.
live in Big Yard now.
All right.
My husband from La Puerta, I from Big Yard. You see? You're only judging the book by the cover. But we have to grow, right? We have to grow. My first speech, I remember, my first speech in Diego Martin, I said, people like to say, she made it out. You know that saying? She make it out? She make it out
After having so much money.
We need to make it in.
So much money.
We must make it in.
You still have people stay saying those kind of stigmas.
Exactly.
And people being comfortable, and politicians being comfortable with it.
Yeah. And you can't, I look at Big Yard, right? Rowley's been my MP all my life. Okay, not all my life. I'm not that young, right? but all my grown life that right? He would be, my MP. Living in Big Yard, has Big Yard gotten better or gotten worse?
Worse.
It's gotten worse. There's been no improvement, and so maybe we need policies like after 2 terms you're out. People shouldn't be sitting.
I will agree with something like that. I will agree with something like that because we have a face of politics that is distasteful to the normal man.
Yeah, boy.
The normal man not voting, and the politics from up here not reaching down here at all.
They're not interested in getting involved.
So
Good
true.
People do not get involved in politics. They don't. And so I've said it. I had an amazing following, one kind of following, because I had the show Care Parenting, and she was involved in all this charity work. The moment I stepped onto a platform, it was okay, she's now a politician, so she's evil. I'm the same person. But if good people leave politics to bad people, then politics will be bad, then the country will be led by bad. It's that simple.
I tell people all the time,
you can't get rid of it.
I tell people all the time, you can't make changes on the outside.
On the outside.
Screaming.
Agreed.
You have to get in.
There is a place for activism, but activism will not work if the powers that be know that no matter how much shout you shout outside, we getting away with what we want to get away with. And right now, leadership getting away with anything. They get away with it.
What you see, you're saying something, and in talking with Robert Amar, that keep playing off in my mind still. What is your thoughts on referendum as to how Robert Amar been proposing it? Because what he was saying, referendum was introduced within our constitution. Instead of we choosing who we want to represent us, we can start to choose on the actual what we want then.
So a lot of people talk constitutional change, right? Personally, I don't think that we're there yet as a people. Of course, the constitution needs changing, but one constitutional change takes 80, I think it's 80-10, 80-20 in terms of parliament. So when people talk about, PP had a constitutional majority, they could have changed, that's not true. The only government that had that majority was the 33-1, 33-3, right? The NAR. That's the only government that would have had that kind of majority, because there's simple majority, there's special majority, but there's a constitutional majority.
Okay.
So that kind of major constitutional change, I don't mean to bad talk my brother here, but people like to say PP, a lot of people use that as a campaign goodie, and again, that's because citizenry does not know enough. So they'll buy into, if you get into government, you will change the constitution. Well, first of all, they're not contesting enough seats. Even if you win all.
Marsha,
Marsha, come down quite a point of some
but we regard, and that's where.
But it's a fact.
Right, and that's where I guess I'm not a good politician, right? Because
is that fact?
Whoever it is, red, white, blue, yellow, if you're not saying something that, if you're saying something that's misleading to the people, I feel it my duty to say, guys, this can't work. So when you want to change the constitution, and I've heard Nancy say it too. And Nancy real close with UNC. There are things that you campaign on that you know very well cannot be done. If you want to talk about constitutional change, and this is important, right? UNC had, we can show that we have done certain things to change the constitution, not in the grand scheme of things, but within the power that you have.
Okay.
Right? So, citizens need to know that if we want constitutional change, then some party has to have a landslide victory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's making no sense. And I don't think that right now the landscape suggests that we're going to have a landslide victory anyway. So for me, that's why I won't necessarily, I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but when the opportunity for a constitutional change is not there. It's not there. So what are things that can change? I think the way a citizen votes can change. So I would like to see maybe 3-4 parties inside of the government. There is nothing in our constitution that says, for example, you're not looking at it where it's a tie and you need one party to break, so it had to be a coalition, right? We're not looking at it like that. But let's say PNM win a 10 seat, PEP win a 5, UNC win a 15, right? So UNC would be first past the post, unless, PEP and thing, right? And then you have, what's Farley party name?
I don't know, yeah.
Farley. So inside of government, so you say, okay, UNC will win, they'll become the prime minister, right? Because they have the most. And again, there's no coalition where people, right, go in like that. We determine who's an opposition leader. Well, PNM will get the opposition leader. We're going to vote PP, right? So we have a PP here. PP win the second most votes, the opposition leader. That's why I ask him, who's the political leader, right? And then you have a real sort of, not bought out independent senators or anything like that, but you have 41 good people. So I always say to people who are voting, get to know the individual.
Yeah.
If I can believe in Sheldon Can, it matters not what is on that side.
No.
It ought not to. Now I do understand that people buy into a political leader, right? Now that should have mattered less for local government though. Local government are not changing the prime minister, so that was an opportunity to genuinely put good councillors. Because they ain't changing government. But let's start with 41 good candidates. Forget who the party is. All now we should be knowing who. You ain't even living in my constituency. Okay, you're not living there, but you're doing work there. Okay, what's your about?
But you're not seeing neither.
Right. Well, I would like to think if you went up in 2025, they would be able to say Sheldon Can is a good individual. Regardless of what party he is from, he's been doing work. His life is about doing work, right? You look at certain MPs, what's your life's work been? And I don't want to call no names, but we have MPs where your life's work been to, you have represented major companies. That's the only companies that you've ever been a lawyer for. You ain't have no pro bono case. You ain't represent no little young black boy. You ain't fight for constitutional rights.
Because they're not interested.
And they never really walk on the ground.
For them because they're PNM.
Because they're interested in
because they align themselves with the parties.
Okay, that's my point.
What is the citizen vote?
So you must sit down and watch and say, hold up. Who are these people?
Because I'm a Negro and he's an Indian. And he's a Negro.
Well, the person I'm talking about not even Negro. Because I have somebody in mind. I have somebody.
Don't call on him. Because
your whole life
yeah.
You're born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Okay, fine, you can't control how you're born. But I've not seen any kind of grassroots work. I've not seen, okay, so you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth. But if you have all that money, maybe you could do a UN project, do something. I've not seen that from you. Why? Why are you involved in politics? Which means the citizens should know better than to vote for them.
Yeah.
Right? I could tell you a story. You remember when Darrell Smith was chosen by PNM by the screening committee over Amory Brown? And the PNM party groups protested. But you know what they say? And I could tell you they said it, I was there. Yeah, but you know we had to vote for PNM.
Yeah.
After a protest, after you get vexed and you say the screening committee on rubbish, because there's no way we supporting Darrell Smith for MP. But when the day comes,
they're still
you're not going to say, look, we have a better option, let's go with the better option.
No.
So that to me is an easier message, or at least is lower hanging fruit. Well, some people will say to change the citizens or whatever. But we have 700,000 people, that's what we know, who are not base. They're not blind loyal. So for me, I keep speaking to them because they're the person that I will say to, listen.
But even though strong,
who are your people? Who are the people on your ballot? Find out who they are and vote for them. And forget the government will fall into place.
But even those die-hard loyalists, I believe they are waking up as well.
I think so.
Because I meet them all the day and they complain to me.
Remember, I told you that I just met a UNC, born UNC, and he not voting the next time he say he ain't voting. Right? I can tell you in PNM areas, again, the last local government, Amber Keynes should cry. Yes, she's still the councillor, but the kind of numbers that you got, your base didn't come out.
What we are seeing so far is that the population at whole, and it kind of ripe for a particular, that it should have a body that intervening, because it's similar to the same thing what had happened in Bell, California, Robert Rizzo, when they was checking the voter base and how people voting, less people was voting, and the taxes was so high until they actually come in, the feds would have come in and lock him up and have him paying back up to this day. So seeing that less than half of the population vote, that says something about the economy.
Absolutely.
You understand? And now you would have said something that very instrumental, that again I applaud you for the two party, which is the PNM and the UNC. I mean the leadership, and I believe it so too. People is disenfranchised with what is seen as the head and the direction in which they want to pull these party and them. And I believe in that it should have I try to be politically correct, but get rid of them. Let it go. Fresh minds.
Okay, I will be honest. PNM, change leadership, it matters not.
Is that why you're advocating for Kamakali?
Oh, well, I'll get it. PNM is PNM. PNM is a solid institution. Give Jack their jacket.
Yeah.
Whether that serves the country well, a different story, right? But they are a solid institution. Which is why loudmouths like me can't go in PNM and think they're going to make any change. There's no change to come with PNM. PNM is set. They have their value system, and that's that. And that value system, what every citizen should know by now, has not taken Trinidad forward.
Yeah.
Because they ruled the country for 30 years uninterrupted. They couldn't blame nobody else, right? Their value system is a hand-me-down. It's a slavery. It's legal slavery. It's shackles. Keep me attached to government. Keep me dependent on government. Keep me, removed. There's no signs of empowerment, right? So PNM is PNM. Change leadership, it matters not. UNC, on the other hand, can be changed with change of leadership. UNC is not that type of organization where the founders, well, clearly we could see that the founders have no say.
Yeah.
PNM has this, as I say, is their cult, and however they work it. When they change, and that's that.
They follow the same structure.
Yeah. UNC, a change of leadership will bring new blood, new life, new everything. Let me put a disclaimer here. I love Kamala to death. I actually do think, I have to be careful, but I think that she would make a good prime minister. Let's put her in a bubble by herself, right? As a second term, she would have understood what she did before, what needs to work, the challenges of public servants, the challenges of, let me be real, there's a PNM system in there. So making change, again, a lot of people like to campaign and say, we go do this, we go do that. When you reach in and you have 5 years and you have PNM membership so entrenched in our system, it is very difficult to bring the change that you want. Unless people like say, that's why I must fire everybody. And how? Yeah. How is that going to work?
You can't do that.
Right? So she would have had that experience being there before. But for whatever reason, and this is where there is a disappointment. There's a disappointment as a female politician because I did look up to her. Right? I think that she is sound as a politician. I think you cannot take away from her achievements as a female politician. I see her. I look at details. I'm somebody who looks at details. When nobody looking, I pay attention to what you're doing when nobody looking and those kinds of things. She will notice if the lighting right. So she's still very meticulous like that. But then you make decisions that don't match up to what I know we just discussed. it don't match up to who I know you to be. Which is why I say, is it a situation where maybe people have compromise on you? Maybe they have stuff to blackmail you. Because I cannot see you making the decisions that you are making. And it's disappointing.
Yeah.
And I can't support you. You know, there's a saying, I love Rome. I love Caesar, but I love Rome more.
Right.
I love Kamala, but I love Trinidad more.
Right.
And I wish I could be closer to you to help you. I don't know. I'm not in your shoes. I have no idea. You know, you hear stories. I've seen things myself. You know, and if you're a different human being and you hit record,
you will react to it.
but I mean, I'm not somebody who is driven by ambition, right? You do something and then I had to go to church on Sunday and answer to the Lord.
Right.
If I not answering to the Lord, maybe you would have hit record and then you have your own version to blackmail because you're concerned about yourself and you want to go up the ladder. So how can, I mean, is she compromised? You know, and that's the bottom line. And that is not good for a country if we have somebody who is compromised. You know, but I can't figure out any other reason why she would make decisions that she would make, why she would install the people that she would install, why she would keep certain persons close, other than the fact that maybe they have something on her and so she has to make those decisions. I mean, people talk about her health and whatnot, right? I mean, she did not walk with any candidate for local government elections. And we have to move past Kamala as a former prime minister versus Kamala as a prime minister in waiting. As of right now, she's a prime minister in waiting. You have to behave as a prime minister in waiting. You cannot ask me to vote for you based on who you were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I need to know who you are now. I need to know who you will be in power. Do you have the energy? Do you have the health? Do you still have the passion? Do you still have the desire? I need to see it not based on past experiences.
Yeah.
So you need to start to behave to me as a prime minister in waiting. I need to see that. And as of right now, I can't. I can't see it. In 2020, I heard constantly on the ground, Marsha, I love you, but I can't vote for Kamala. I heard that in 2020. I bought into why she needed to stay. People were saying, let the party mash up and give it time to build back. No, there needs to be a proper transition. As of right now, there is no sign that she's interested in a proper transition. What we see, and it's obvious, let's call it out. Your stars among you are hidden. It's as though your confidence is gone. I have no idea why. As I say, I can't say why she makes the decision she's making. But you are putting people. Let me talk about Jack.
Yeah.
Right? Let me go there.
Yeah, there are big fish here, but let me talk about Jack.
Let me talk about Jack. The country clearly wants fresh faces. I think that UNC has a brilliant lineup. You cannot touch a UNC lineup. You have Dinesh Rambali, you have Rushton Parry, you have Anita Haynes, you have, oh gosh, I like him. He's not, and that might be why I don't remember his name, he's not charismatic and out there and whatnot, but when he speaks, one of our doctors, oh gosh, he used to be a DPL, he was a DPL, anyway. So you have him, you have Marsha, right? You have Jayanti. Jayanti is a powerful speaker, intelligent. You have Anand Ramlogan. I don't know, we don't see him publicly. So you have, if you're in politics long enough, you'll be tainted, right? But he's brilliant. That's the bottom line. Yeah, Anand Ramlogan. And his heart is in the correct place. Who he fights for. I mean, just look at who he fights for. I remember a young boy got beaten up by police and Anand in a heartbeat say, anytime Anand there representing, right? I had the young girl that was expelled and I thought it was absolute victimization. I called Anand. Anand is willing to fight for the man on the ground any day. So it can't be that. Whether he's interested in electoral politics might be another story, right? But there are Khadija Amin, right? And so I want to make sure, and she's close to Kamala. Some persons say, she's not ready for like that level. I think you can't beat Khadija on the floor. You can't beat Khadija work ethic. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I really like Khadija's work ethic. You have Saddam Hussein. Right?
Yeah.
So you could call, and these are that's your front runners, right? Then you could talk about Larry Lala, right? There, Chris Hussein. Chris Hussein is a young, he was a former youth parliamentarian. There is no deficit. There is no lack of talent in the UNC. So you can't talk about transition, you can't talk about new faces, you can't talk about the next generation UNC, and then tell me that your local government election campaign is jack to bring back people. How do you expect the young voter, the young professional to respond to that? That is exactly the games that we are rejecting. You've bad talk the woman up, down, all over the place. Munilal bad talk Jack up, down, all over the place. Who called who a crook? Who talk about who's this? Who talk about all kind of bacchanal?
Well,
and then all of a sudden he comes back and there's no real legit reason as to why he's back.
Now, the same thing I can say about Gary, but I mean, the reason why I want to go there is that, I mean, from my perspective, I was talking to the people we just deal with in terms of when we brainstorming and things. And we say, hey, go and have a problem with Marsha and Gary in this party. Because we remember that time specifically.
This party, I thought Gary's NTA.
No, well,
people don't even, so you're going into it now where we don't even know if it's really one party, two parties, how close are they? And these are the political games I think that people are rejecting. Right? I don't like Philip at all. He's disrespectful, and he's disrespected me personally.
Okay.
Right? But
what about the things he stands for? It can't get back. It can't.
Right, so I was about to say.
It can't equate the two.
Right, no. So I was about to say, give Jack his jacket. He calls things as he sees it. What you see is what you get. Right? So I was going to give him some kudos there now. I don't think people want games. Right? Now, there's a balance that Philip would have had to find that he didn't want to find. Right? But people don't want games. They don't want to be lied to. They don't want to be manipulated. Yes, you have to have strategy, but people don't want to feel played. Right? And I think right now, citizens feel played. I don't know if that's what you get, but I think citizens feel played, and they don't want that, right? Is there an honest politician? I think that we should be, right? There is a spot where I'm not going to air all of UNC's dirty laundry, right? There's a balance. I can understand when Keith Rowley stands up and says, these are matters of national security, so I can't just come and tell you everything.
Yeah.
Right. I can understand that. So there's a place where you can't know everything.
Right.
But I'm a parent, right? And I think that everything sort of stands from the same type of thing. I always say there are three types of parents. You have a bad parent. So a bad parent will be the child who says, I want candy, and because you didn't have no kind of patience, negotiating skills or anything, you hand the child candy. You have a mediocre parent, where you know that the candy is bad for them, but you don't have buy-in power. You don't have the capacity to lead, and you don't have the charisma to help them want what they need. So you hand them the broccoli and say, eat, or nothing. So you have this child following rules, but they really have not bought into it. But then you have the excellent parent who's taken the time, who has won the trust of the child looks up to you, like genuinely looks up to you. So that if I say to you, broccoli is good for you, or maybe we can have a discussion, maybe not broccoli done without salt, maybe broccoli done in some oyster sauce might taste a little better. How can we work out you having your vegetables? Candy is not an option, but you need to have this. And the child understands, and on their own, child understands that wearing a seatbelt is not because of the police, but because of safety. The vegetables is not because I just want to give you rules. The rules, in fact, are not just because I want to give you rules, but these rules, if you follow it, you actually live a better life. You live a more fulfilled life. Your life will be happier if you trust that what I'm doing is for your benefit. That's the excellent parent. And that's the excellent leader that I think the country is searching for. That's the excellent leadership that we're searching for. So you're not, I think what we have is the can be type. So you hand them what they want to get a vote. And what they want, they don't know. They don't know better. And so we are here 65 years later,
down the line,
when we should have been so much better.
I don't agree with you because for the amount of money that the country has had, for the length of time that we have had,
Right.
what the citizens get, I don't think it's candy.
True. Well, they think it's candy.
Okay.
They think it's candy. So again,
But
if
nobody waking up.
they are. But now what we need, so they are waking up and they're wanting something. Because every child, and again I will have to go back to parenting, children that behave the best, because children without discipline don't actually turn out to be the happiest children.
Yeah.
It's the child who can trust the parent, who grew up with the vegetables, with the rules, with the everything. Human beings want to be led, but by somebody that is genuinely seeking their interests. So there is now a cry for, but what you really sell we is nonsense. You know, is imagine, let me not use that example. Let me turn it around. Let me make sure I turn it around before the Single Fathers Association to the NAPME. Right? So imagine a wife or a mother give a single father child maintenance. So I give you $1,000 for the month, right? The $1,000.
$1,000 every month?
Yeah, well, so let me use, I was trying to keep the math.
No, we can go at 1,000.
Yeah, so I was
1,000.
trying to keep the math simple. So the $1,000, right, is supposed to be, or I'm giving you $1,000 to say, look, the child passed SCA or whatever, take the child out. So the child now don't usually get KFC, right? So the child get a $100 KFC bucket and think, well, yes, I got spoiled, not knowing that he bought a bucket $900.
I still don't feel we get so much.
So we're saying that we get 50 cents then? Or $50?
I feel we get about two fries. I feel we get about two fries. I feel we get about two fries with some ketchup on it.
Yeah, but I see that doesn't work for my example. So you get a bobby. Yeah, chocolate, $1 chocolate or something, right? So for the child thinks that they've gotten something. They've gotten candy. They've gotten something. They're happy. Not realizing what I should have gotten was a day trip to Tobago and a jet ski ride. But all you know is that you got a bobby. And that you like a bobby.
You're happy. You're contented.
And I think that's what happened to us. We didn't realize what we should have gotten.
Yeah.
And that is the point I was bringing
Yeah,
to
we
Renison.
didn't realize that.
I was telling him what's happening at this school is deliberate. He said, you understand now? What you're saying, how could you say that a responsible government that people vote for, have been voting for, would do this to their supporters? And I said, because if they keep you, if you don't pass your education, they stunt your growth from school, it means that your growth is stunted throughout. Where you would have, where you supposed to reach there, you reach here. Not understanding you could have reached the ceiling, but you could never fully, as bright as you may be, if you were part of that school system, you would never be the person.
Or it might be 1 out of 1,000
Like
when
said,
it could have been.
Like how they say you get out.
And you know that's something people use all the time, right? And I say you cannot use an anomaly to
That's
say
why
that,
they say it, you know, because they understand.
Yeah.
That's why they say.
use an
You see, they
anomaly.
understand the shortcomings. So when they see you, that's why they say.
use it,
That's why they say
It
that.
gets me very mad.
No, you at the point in time didn't understand, but now that you're in the politics, now you're saying, oh, that's why they say that. Because
So
before
what we need the leadership that's genuine, that genuinely wants to empower the citizens, but that has to now be matched, because you can't be a dictator either, right? So you can't come and say, well, I know what's best for you, and because remember I tell you that's a mediocre parent, force the broccoli down the throat, right? We need leadership that's charismatic, leadership that citizens can trust, leadership that will say, listen, I know you guys want this, but right now funds are a little low, because I'm sure funds are lower than it was
and people can appreciate
back
that.
then. But this is what we have to do. This is where we have to go. And together, we can get there. Right? So for example, like when I say to my constituents, I ain't getting no HEC house. But what I will do is teach you how to build your own house.
Right.
I will teach you how to earn an income so that you can buy your own land and build your own house.
Well, I can teach you how to do agriculture.
But that's earning an income. But what we need to do is work on helping people fish,
Yes.
not giving them fish. And I know that it will feel unhappy in the beginning because I just want fish.
So was your point of all those resources that we sell, but we have no industries that manufacture them here?
Well, I don't want to speak too much on manufacturing and economy because that's not really my strength. And I try to make sure that I do speak garbage and inform people on garbage. I don't know where we're at in terms of competence, competitiveness globally, etc. Right? So you'd have to maybe give me more of a specific.
The fact that we sell oil wholesale, and we don't have a small scale refinery for our local market.
Well, yeah. Okay, so obviously I don't agree with the shutting down of Petrotrin. Funny enough, I don't think the West really understands. That's a real South discussion that does not
They don't
happen.
understand that.
So you don't put gas in your car?
I understand that, but I don't think the West, we don't see the ghost town. You know, it doesn't come. What we see, and this actually is a perfect example of the brainwashing. You know what we see or what we hear? Is it good because they were draining on the treasury, or 5,000 workers earning a certain income, that was just a feeding trough. That's what we hear. So this is where that PR, different people hear different things. I can tell you where people genuinely believe shutting down Petrotrin was a tough decision that PNM had to make. You know, and you had all these people who were, you know, eating our food and whatnot. So that is where that, again, that PR garbage, that propaganda.
So,
but absolutely.
Shutting down Petrotrin was okay. What I'm saying, they could have opened up smaller scale.
Well, they could have just fixed it. I mean, what was the point of paying? Because they paid for reports, and not one report said to shut it down. So what was the point of getting advice? What was the point of spending the money to pay for the advice, and then you don't follow it? Because what I know is that the professionals, I'm not the professional, but what I know is that professionals did not say shut it down, right? If professionals came out and said, you know what, we believe that this is what you should do, and they followed it, then I'd say, well, that's what the professionals say, who am I to argue? But I do know that the professionals said one thing, and we went against what the professionals said. So that, to me, whether I know anything or not, I know that we made no sense there. We spent money to get professional input. Professionals gave us their input, and then we disregarded it.
I think given the amount of resources that we have, from pitch to water
to sea, the sun, the wind, to people, the Trinidadian person, I mean the athletes, we have a Trini succeeding somewhere in the world, in some industry, somewhere every day. But they all have to go out, right? We all have to get out.
Yes, ma'am.
We all have to get out. So that in itself is a problem. But again, it's because I do believe that says something about the citizens, because where is the fight from the citizen to stay and fight? Mm-hmm. Where is the fight from the citizen to get involved? Where is the fight from the citizen to have voted differently? As we say, there is a plus. We are seeing hope in terms of the numbers.
Like yourself.
It seems as though they are waking up. But like thinking about the 700,000 who say they ain't voting. Mm-hmm. So now what we're seeing is the base, that blind loyal base is dwindling. So that's a good thing. The blind loyal base is dwindling. What we now have to do is give them something. Because they've woken up to say they